and disability in the USA? Obesity? Heart attack? No. Diabetes? Cancer? Chai. He said chai. Oh, mashallah. You don't say that, you might get jumped by the uncles afterwards. So number one cause is the inability to have a nutritional diet. Now, in 2010, well, the study was published in 2010 by, it's called the Global Burden of Disease Study, funded by Bill and Melinda Gates. We won't talk about them right now, but it's funded by them, which is a 20-year study, and they determined the leading cause of death and disability in the USA was the American diet. And followed after that, you'll see, which we always talk about in schools, is tobacco or smoking. But that comes number 2 to our dietary risk and our nutritional deficiencies that we might have. So this, our diet that we just, eat like how we feel like eating, that plays a very, very important role on our current health, our future health, and generations to come, the genes that we pass to our kids and our grandkids and our great-grandkids. That's why when you see people say, oh, my father had it, or my grandmother had that problem, my great-grandmother had that issue. Most likely, a lot of the times it happens where you're eating the same diet as your parents, and your parents eating the same diet as their grandparents, and it keeps on going and going and going. So yes, there is a concept of genetics, that's true, okay, but we can't blame everything on genetics. No. We have the ability to change some of our gene expressions, which we call epigenetics, which we'll talk about inshallah later on. But that's the number one cause of death, number one cause of disability, is our diet. That's how important of an impact this has on our life. The good news, mashallah, I don't mean to just be negative and tell you all this, you're going to die, we all know maut is going to happen, we all know that. No. But the good news is that we have a tremendous amount of ability that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala placed in our hands to improve our health and the longevity and the barakah that we have in the time that we have on the face of this planet. Not only do we have the ability, the possibility to slow down some of these illnesses, but you might have seen it in your own life, I know I have seen it in my own life, to reverse some of these illnesses which you might have heard that they were going to be chronic and you were going to live with them until the end of your life. This talk about nutrition is very near and dear to me because growing up, if I can mention something personal, we had doctors tell me that, doctors tell us that you'll be have to taking this allergy shot every single week for the rest of your life to maintain your allergies. Number one, it wasn't doing anything. We were going there every week. It didn't do diddly squat to our overall health. Every single day it was the exact same thing. But we thought that was what we needed to do, so we go ahead and did that. Maybe for some individuals they might have an impact, but me personally, it didn't do anything. The only thing that completely removed for myself, and I know others as well, in terms of allergies, in terms of asthma, was when they changed their diet from a completely filled with processed foods, eating out in restaurants, to home-cooked meals that are filled with whole foods. That's what made an impact on my life. Maybe it'll work for many people. I know obviously the science is that it'll work for many, but will it completely reverse it? Allahu A'lam. But for some individuals, some of the clients that I've spoken to, it has not only decreased it substantially, but for some individuals completely reversed that quote-unquote chronic disease that they were told that they were going to have for the rest of their life. It's very debilitating when somebody comes to you and tells you you're going to have something for the rest of your life. You think that, that's it. I don't have anything to do. That's very depressing and it's very debilitating. But when I thought of that, this is not the quality of a life that I wanted to have. Asthma that I had completely is non-existent anymore. Allergies, yes, you have your days, but if I compare it to how I was before years ago, it's night and day difference. Night and day difference. There's only so many Claritins that you can take. There's only so many, meds that you can take. They have their need. They have their, time. Yes. Don't get me wrong. I mean to go throw away all of the medications that you go home and you throw away all of them, at home, throw them all in the garbage. No, I'm not saying that. They have their time. They have their place. But also think about the impact the foods that you eat have on your overall health as well. And we'll talk about that, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought this to our attention now over 1400 years ago, where He said to the believers, He told the prophets as well, because they are the role models of all role models. So He stated, "Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kulu min tayyibati ma razaqnakum washkuru lillahi in kuntum iyyahu ta'budun." As Muslims, we need to get past now. Alhamdulillah, we have organizations and we've been doing it for decades, or we are going into the slaughterhouses and figuring out if our meat is halal and our foods are halal. Alhamdulillah, they laid the foundation for us. But what's the next step? As Muslims, we don't just sit back, relax, and that's it. Alhamdulillah, they set the cornerstone for us. We know if that food is halal, but is that food have any nutritional value to you? Is that food tayyib at any cost? Does it have any value for you? That's the question we need to ask. We always are used to, turning it around, mashallah. So we're in the habit as Muslims. We buy something. Now when we buy something, we turn it around and we check the ingredients. We check the ingredients. I think the sister's screen is not working downstairs. So we're already used to that, mashallah, where we turn it around and we read the ingredients to see if it's halal or not. We scan it and we check, okay, does it have any meat items? Does it have any gelatin? Does it have any of these enzymes? We're used to that, alhamdulillah. We got to take it a step further, though. We got to take it a step further now. Are the foods in our nutrition that we eat, are they tayyib for us? Do they have any nutritional value? That's what we have to look at now. That's what we have to take it a step further. As Muslims, we're not just stagnant people. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that eat pure things from what we have provided you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't provide you Cheetos and nacho cheese and Takis and all those, the things that we see every kid have. You have Coke, you have sodas. You're probably going to hate me after this, right? That's fine. I'd rather you hate me than you know the information and you make an informed decision for you and your family. I could care less if you hate me afterwards. But at least I would do my job then. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us to eat food, they're emphasizing pure quality, nutrient-dense, small amount of foods. You might be thinking, oh man, I eat a lot. Yeah, when you eat quality, nutrient-dense foods, you're going to feel full, as opposed to when you eat whole bags of chips, the large jumbo size. You keep on eating and you see, I'm already at the bottom of the bag and I'm still not full. Why? Well, that's because these companies, Lay's, Doritos, whatever these companies, all of these companies, what do? They have a special team of scientists where they hire that let me check at what level of salt and sugar and processed foods and artificial flavors, natural flavors, how much do I need to add, so they'll come back for more and more and more. Don't think that they're just, I'll just let my beta eat it, or I'll just, give it to him. No, they don't care about your beta like that, right? They don't care about your beta like that. They care about how much money they can make off your beta and make off your beta, right? By doing that, advertising to them at schools, at the gyms, at the fitness centers. They do advertisement to your kids, and your kids go ahead and do the advertisement to you. Then they're yelling, and they're telling you to buy. What happens? We end up getting it. They have one dose. I call it a dose. It's a drug. They have one dose of that Cheetos. They have one dose of those M&Ms. One dose of that French fries, and they're hooked. It's a drug. It's a drug. They're hooked. No? And then people complain afterwards. Oh, my son, my daughter, they're not listening to me. They have ADHD. They have this. They have that. They have so much energy. The kids already have energy. Now you're giving them adult size, gulp size sugars. Well, obviously they're going to have energy. A little bit too much than they need. Kids are already strong, they already have that energy. Why do we need to give them refined things to give them fake energy? Then they completely, pass out when nighttime comes. Or they might not pass, they're awake till 12 o'clock. Parents come to me and tell me, why is my kids can't sleep? Well, what did you give them during the day? Oh, I used to drink some chai, I don't mean to hate on the Desis, but I can hate on the Desis, right, because I'm Desi. So, like in Pakistan, for example, what do they have for breakfast? I went to Pakistan, right? So they would have like a bowl of chai, A bowl of chai. Are you kidding me? A bowl of chai, and then they're like dipping the roti in. I don't have anything against the roti, but you'd have a bowl of chai. It's like probably like 2 cups, 3 cups maybe. I don't know how much sugar is in there. I don't know how much caffeine is in there. And you're giving it to like a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 7-year-old. And you're telling me, I don't know why they're obese. I don't know why they have so much energy. I don't know why they're ADHD. I don't know why they can't sit in one place in school. My brother and I, we taught in the public school system. We saw how kids have so much energy without the needs of these refined sugars. But when they have that, it's classroom management, right? It's to the nth degree. It's almost impossible to have, right? That's why half of education is like classroom management. If you don't know how to do classroom management, your degree is not going to get you anywhere. Because those kids, what they're fed, those drugs are what they're fed at home, what they're fed at school. I mean, it's no joke. Look at the food that they have in the school system as well. It's no joke. No? That's why we always give our kids his own lunch, her own lunch when they go to school. No? I don't want them having that food. I don't want to be the means for them not doing well in school. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He states, in this verse, كُلُوا مِن طَيِّبَاتِ مَا رَزَقْنَاكُمْ. In another verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسُ كُلُوا مِمَّا فِي الْأَرْضِ حَلَالًا طَيِّبًا. Now, He says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ, what is it? يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ تَعَالَى طَيِّبٌ لَا يَقْبَلُ إِلَّا طَيِّبٌ وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ أَمَرَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ بِمَا أَمَرَ بِهِ الْمُرْسَلِينَ يَا أَيُّهَا الرُّسُلُ كُلُوا مِن طَيِّبَاتِ مَا رَزَقْنَاكُمْ كُلُوا مِنَ الطَّيِّبَاتِ مَا رَزَقْنَاكُمْ. But now, كُلُوا مِنَ الطَّيِّبَاتِ وَاعْمَلُوا صَالِحًا. That he's telling the prophets that eat from that which is tayyib, eat from that which is pure, and perform good deeds. You see how it's mentioned right before that? How are you going to perform good deeds when you're half awake, you're half asleep, you can barely remove the blanket? How are you going to wake up when you're constantly sick by your own fault? How are you going to perform ibadah? How are you going to come to Fajr? How are you going to even wake up for Fajr? How are you going to go to sleep? It's going to affect it. If it affects, they did a study on mice. They gave them this chemical atrazine, which is it's a herbicide that's spread. It's a herbicide that's spread on produce, on non-organic produce. They spray these chemicals so they can kill off the weeds, but they also kill us off too at the same time. So they tested it out on these mice, and not 1 generation, not 2 generations, 3 generations later, that chemical was still present in the family, in the animal. 3 generations later. If you're not doing it for yourself, do it for your kids. You're not doing it for your kids, do it for your grandkids. Not doing it for grandkids, do it for your great-grandkids. We always talk about we build, we need to look out for our future generation. We have fundraising dinners for the masjid, and we do this, we do that. MashaAllah, that's all nice and dandy. But then when they come to the masjid, you have kids, selling each other Gatorade. You have kids selling each other Takis. You have kids selling each other, Cheetos and things of that sort. Prophet ﷺ, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ, he was uswatun hasan. He was the best of role models, not just in terms of spirituality, not just in terms of the deen, but also in terms of his physical health as well. He wasn't obese, he wasn't overweight. He got wahi at the age of 40. That's when his life started. Some of us can barely walk around the block at the age of 30. No? Yeah, we always joke, some of my friends, like, oh man, I'm out of my prime. I was like, how old are you? 33. I was like, you kidding? Are you joking? I'm out of my prime. It's very debilitating. It's very sad, to see these things. And I don't have much time, so I'll try to move past. But Ibn Ashur, he mentions in his Tafsir al-Tahrir wa Tanwir, mashallah, which is a work that he took over about 50 years to compile. So we have some, mashallah, some students studying the Arabic language. So I'll mention a point where he says, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, halalan tayyiba, ya ayyuha ar-rusul, what is it? Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, ya ayyuha ar-rusul, kulu mimma fil ardi, kulu mimma fil ardi halalan tayyiba. Right? So we have halalan and tayyiba. Why is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned both? If you look at the verse, if you look at the i'rab of the verse, if you look at the syntactic analysis, that ma there is for ma mawsula. And for the first halal, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says halal, that's saying the hukm al-shar'i, that's saying that what they might eat, what is the bayan al-hukm al-shar'i, which is that the food must be permissible. الثاني لبيان علته. What's the explanation of halal? لبيان علته لأن الطيب من شأنه أن تقصده النفوس للانتفاع به فإذا ثبت الطيب ثبتت الحلية. Once you validate that something is tayyib, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself describes himself as being tayyib, then at that point will the souls, will the nafs be attracted to that. If something is classified as tayyib, then naturally our bodies, if it wasn't filled with processed foods and GMO products, then naturally we would want those foods. Naturally. We see fruits, mashallah, we see the vegetables, it's beautiful to the eye. It's not just a decoration piece in the house, but it's something that we should have. It's something that our kids should see. No? They come into the kitchen, they see, a basket of fruits. They see a basket of vegetables. They see that every single day. It's going to be psychological. They're going to be like, okay, I'm going to pick it up one day. One day they'll pick it up. Maybe not today, maybe not this week, maybe 2 weeks later. But if that's all they see at home, they're going to pick it up. Parents always come to me and complain, my kid, I can't get him off sugar. He always wants candy. He always wants this and that. I was like, do you have candy in the house? Like, yeah. I was like, why do you have candy in the house? Don't have candy in the house, they're not going to want it. Because they might cry and yell at you for 1 day, maybe 2 days, maybe 3 days, they might yell. But eventually they'll get over it because it's not at home anymore. I'm not eating it, you're not eating it, nobody's eating it at home. Looks like either we're going to fast every day or we're going to eat some of this food. I don't mean to, starve you, like put broccoli in your face and, it's not going to be in a disgusting manner. You can make these foods taste good. You got to give it a try though. You got to give it a chance. And that's what Ibn Ashur, he mentions, that tayyib is something that is nutritional to the body. It is something that is nutrient dense. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described it with the foods that the Prophet should be eating. So it's a comprehensive word that includes being clean, being wholesome, being gentle, being lawful, as opposed to its counterpart, which is khabith or wakhim, which means something that is, I'll define it as something as being processed, something that's filled with refined sugars, things like GMOs, things that are artificially flavored, have artificial colors, have preservatives filled to the nth degree. When you have a product and you look at the back of it and it says red 40, come on, that's not a food, right? Something should click. It says red 40. That what you should be able to, when you look at it, when you pick up a product, you should be able to understand every single ingredient on there. If you can't understand, this is a general rule of thumb. I'm simplifying it like crazy, but if you turn it around and you can't read the products, that either means it's something that's genetically modified, or it means that they're trying to hide something from you. They're trying to hide the real product away from you. They're trying to hide something. The food companies, they don't have your best interests. Okay. If we're not paying for quality food, then we're paying for our health. You either pay for your health right now, or you're going to pay for it later on at the end of your life, if you have that life. So when people tell me, man, it's expensive, organic is expensive, I was like, how expensive are your pills? How expensive are your medicine? They're pretty expensive, right? Yeah. So I'd rather pay for some good quality food than be on drugs for the rest of my life. Now don't get me wrong, some individuals, they need it. And it's only mean that they survive. But if you read the backs, if you read the labels of those drugs, it clearly says, for example, if you have taking steroids, it clearly says on there, okay, don't exceed taking it for 7 to 14 days. And people are taking it for months on end. They don't read the labels. The doctor doesn't tell them. And they're just seeing, alhamdulillah, man, my skin is good. They get off of that, boom, look what happens to them. Got to pay attention to these things. Every single thing that we put inside our mouth, we got to pay attention. Every single day we put topically, we have to pay attention to that. Because when we put it topically, it also obviously gets to our bloodstream. So anything that we wouldn't eat, don't put that on your body either. That's a general rule of thumb. Don't if you won't eat it, don't put it on your body, because it's going inside your body like that anyways. Okay, so just pay attention to these things. Now and we can, I don't know how much time we have, but your food, all the foods that you eat, they contain bioactives. And that's why we have to make sure that they are very, very clean and pristine and very healthy. Because that signal that we want from our food it's coming from our microbiome. Very important word, which we'll talk about in a minute. So I want you to eat with the intent that you are feeding and taking care of your gut bugs. When you take, for example, we probably all have seen or taken antibiotics in our life. The doctor comes and tells us, okay, it's going to kill the bacteria. MashaAllah, and it does that. It does that. But keep in mind, also be wary of that. It also kills not only the bad bacteria, which you want to kill it also kills the good bacteria. Bad and good bacteria. And the foods that we eat, sometimes it increases not our good bacteria, but a lot of times our bad bacteria. So obviously, the food that we eat is going to impact our overall health, is going to impact our immune system, how we respond to illnesses and viruses and sicknesses. If you didn't take health seriously, this last 2 years, 3 years should have opened your eyes with COVID. As we saw the studies, individuals with comorbidities, individuals with multiple illnesses, they were much more likely to what? To be affected with COVID, to pass away from COVID. Individuals who had multiple illnesses. So if health wasn't important then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is sending you a sign right now. Hey, pay attention now. Pay attention. We sent something, something was, this disease was spread throughout the whole world stopped. If that didn't, if one individual passing away, 2 individuals passing away, it didn't hit you, how about the whole world stop? All the businesses closed, everybody working from home, people being fired. Now things are getting serious, right? Now people are paying attention because now it's affecting their health. Now it's affecting their wealth. No? This microbiome, it weighs as much as 5 pounds. And it's from our mouth all the way until our colon. Okay, it contains trillions of microorganisms to help break down and digest our foods. If that's not right, our whole body is not right. If that's right, then our whole body, inshallah, will be right. No. We could be eating all of the foods, organic and all of that, but if we're not digesting it properly, it's not going to go anywhere. It's going to go one side, it's going to come out the other. No. So this is one concept that I don't, wanted to spend a little bit more time, but I think this will be sufficient. Point number 2, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the verse, He states that وَاشْكُرُوا لِلَّهِ إِن كُنْتُمْ إِيَّاهُ تَعْبُدُونَ, that be grateful to Allah if you truly worship Him alone. Now you might be thinking, how in the world is that connected to food? How in the world is that connected to health? It is most definitely connected to health. You have individuals like Dr. Mark Hyman, who's a great doctor of functional medicine. He mentioned, I was listening to his talk a few days ago, that the food that we eat doesn't only change our microbiome, as we talked about, but also changes our gene expression. The food changes our microbiome, it also changes our gene expression, but the interactions that we have with others, how grateful we are, that also changes our gene expression. That also changes our epigenetics. How happy we are, how grateful we are. Think about, for example, you have your kids yelling at home, they're just to the top of their lungs, and it's like lunchtime, you're about to eat. You probably are not hungry anymore, because they're just yelling. You might notice, or you might not have noticed it. Or you're eating, and they're just yelling and yelling and yelling, or you're just very mad and you just keep on eating and eating and eating, and you realize you're still not full, but you finished like 2 plates. Why is that? Because you're eating with a lot of stress. You're eating. You are very depressed when you're eating. You're very stressed out when you're eating. The environment is not conducive to your eating at that point. So all of this impacts our health, not just the food. Food is one thing. And that was the main purpose of the talk. That's what we're focusing on it. But there's a whole other list of things that impact our health. Primary foods and secondary foods, which we'll talk about in a moment. But we show our gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by following the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam even while eating. That's how we're grateful. That's how we do shukr. And that's for that reason, if we do that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. You make shukr to me, you are grateful to me, then I'll give you even more. I'll give you even a better microbiome. I'll give you even better gene expressions. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will increase. Most definitely. And those of you that know Arabic, you have the lam there, you have the noon mushaddad there. It's most definitely, it's a lot of emphasis being applied that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grant ni'mah upon ni'mah in your life. And I say this very, very seriously. Those of you that know me, I joke around a lot in class. But I say this very seriously, that the junk that we eat sometimes, that I honestly think we are showing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we are being ungrateful. The junk that we feed ourselves, the processed foods that we feed ourselves. That's a sign that we are being ungrateful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sometimes people tell me, hey man, just relax a little bit. Just take some. Just take a little bit. Yeah? Then I always think of, okay, yeah, I take it, I eat that food. Okay. For example, you have individuals who there's a completely refined with sugars dish, and you have a dish has some refined sugars. Okay, just take this one. It doesn't have that many sugars. Okay, you're asking me, okay, beat yourself with a big hammer or beat yourself with a small hammer? Make any sense? I rather fast and have that. Obviously, when we fast, we fast with the intention of doing it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But is it really a question, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You're telling me, just take a little bit. let's take a little bit. All right, might as well just take a little hammer and just hit myself in the stomach. Yeah, that's fine, right? That's okay. When was that okay? Right? Well, that was never, just because you can't see what's going on inside doesn't mean nothing's happening inside. Some people always say, I was eating this my whole life. Well, look at you now. People always tell me, hey, I was eating this my whole life. These are the same individuals that are obese. These are the same individuals that can barely run down the court by 30 years old. These are the same individuals are walking with a limp because of what? The food choices that they might have made or were given to them. So as parents, we have a big, big responsibility. Not only do we care for our child's education, especially in the Desi household, right? Education, doctor, engineer. Yes, great, mashallah, that's needed. They need to be well educated. But how in the world are they going to be well educated when they're not getting enough sleep? How in the world are they going to be well educated if they're not being fed nice home food that are made with real ingredients? Not with processed junk. Okay, I don't even call that food, that's just called junk. That's garbage. And people always ask me, how I can't afford it. I can't afford this organic food that you've been talking about. Well, maybe take out all of that junk, take out the pop, take out the refined sugars, and then use that money that you have, that extra like 20, 30 bucks, okay, that you spend on 10 bucks per day for Starbucks coffee that's filled with, with your latte that's, filled with preservatives and filled with, carcinogens and filled with all these other things. Maybe use that to get yourself a little bit more of a healthy meal. And then you'll be able to save money. Until you start doing that, don't tell me that it's expensive. Don't come in with that, with that excuse. I'm not going to listen to you. Okay? That's really, you're kidding yourself. You're lying to yourself if you say you can't afford it and you're eating all of that every single day. No. Do that first, and if you still can't afford, then you come to me, inshallah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentions in Surah Al-A'raf, وَكُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا وَلَا تُسْرِفُوا إِنَّهُ لَا يُحِبُّ الْمُسْرِفِينَ. That again, enjoy your food. Eat, okay? Drink what you need to drink. Those are the things that are halal, those things that are tayyib. But again, it has a limit, right? وَلَا تُسْرِفُوا. Yes, certain foods might be very healthy. Your fruits, your vegetables, fine, they're very healthy. But again, وَلَا تُسْرِفُوا, with not being wasteful. No? What is israf mean? Right? Tajawuz al-had. Tajawuz crossing the boundaries which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam set. No. Because at that point, if you're already full and now you're doing some emotional eating, that food is not, that those nutrients aren't being transferred, they're causing more harm to your body than benefit. There's a reason, there's always a hikmah behind what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. There's always a hikmah behind what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says. Sometimes we understand it, sometimes we don't. And when he mentioned about the one third, right? 1/3 food, 1/3 water, 1/3 empty, right? Keeping it empty, empty. That doesn't mean like add some airheads, right? Yes, yeah. Shani Allah, add some airheads, huh? No, that doesn't, what is it? 1/3 food, 1/3 water, and 1/3. That's the maximum, right? That's the Prophet ﷺ. If you must do it, then go this route. It's if we must do it. If we eat good quality, wholesome foods for that 1/3 and that 1/3, 1/3 of food, 1/3 of drink, then we're going to naturally feel full. When we're eating artificial junk that's wiring our brains to want more and more and more, we're never going to feel full. We're never going to feel that we're never going to feel full. No? Why is that? Because we see where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this, okay? The vagus nerve, which we'll talk about. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, before we talk about this connection between the mind and the body, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in this hadith, ما ملأ آدمي وعاء شر من بطن حسب الآدمي لقمات يقمن صلبه فإن غلبت الآدمي نفسه فثلث للطعام وثلث للشراب وثلث ثلث للنفس. ثلث للنفس. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said a human being can fill no vessel worse than his own stomach. It's sufficient that he eats a few morsels of good quality food to keep his back, his spine straight. But if he must, then 1/3 food, 1/3 drink, and 1/3 leaving it empty. No? And if we add another hadith to this hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, he said that the believer is that individual who eats with one stomach. The disbeliever is that individual who eats with 7 stomachs. No? He eats with 7 stomachs. And obviously we don't want to be associated with the disbeliever, by a 10-foot pole. Not only in our actions, but by the way we eat as well. These impurities, if I call them, they lead to imbalance in our gut bacteria, which leads to so many chronic diseases, whether it's depression, whether it's anxiety, whether it's autism, autoimmunity, even cancer. And our gut bacteria can affect our gene code and our brains through this nerve that we were talking about. Through this, in the picture you see, through that vagus nerve. This is what we call that mind-body connection. From what we eat to our minds. And that's why these companies hire those scientists to see what's the exact right amount of salt and sugar which these individuals, these kids, when they eat it, they're going to come back for more and more and more. What's the exact amount? They don't get too much, but it's not too little. Just the right balance, right? So this vagus nerve, it represents the main component of the parasympathetic nervous system, which oversees a variety of our body's functions, whether it's the mood, whether it's the immune response, whether it's digestion, whether it's heart rate, honestly, our entire body. And it establishes that connection between our brain and our gut. Sometimes, you love having those uncles and those aunties that just tell it to you straight, right? Or you love having those individuals that don't beat around the bush. They just tell you need something, they just tell it to you in your face, right? Your dad comes and just tell it to you right to your face. Your brother might come, they're not going to be like, you're really good at this, but you're not good. No, they'll just tell it to you right to your face, right? Your teacher sometimes will tell it to you right to your face. Umar radiallahu anhu sometimes will tell it to you right to your face, right? There's a hadith of Umar radiallahu anhu, which he saw a man who had a, mashallah, stomach, his stomach was sticking out more than it needed to. So he went up to him and he said, إِيَّاكُمْ وَالْبِطْنَةِ فَإِنَّهَا مُفْسِدَةٌ لِلْجَسَدِ مُورِثَةٌ لِلسَّقْمِ مُكْسِرَةٌ عَنِ الصَّلَاةِ. Umar radiallahu anhu, he said, avoid having this pot belly, or this we call it, uncle belly. Why? It spoils the body, it causes diseases, and it makes prayer very difficult. So make use, he mentions in another narration, make use of cupping, for this optimizes the body. Avoid all excess, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hates a learned man who is fat. How many of us, when it comes to food, we think of it as a relationship? It's like my second baby, huh? How many of us, when it comes to food, we think of it as a habit? It's breakfast time, 8 o'clock. I don't care if you're hungry, you're going to eat. We do that to our kids, do we not? Like they're crying and we're putting food in. Come on, something's wrong with that, right? Is that something not wrong with that? They're crying and we're putting food into their mouth, forcing them to eat. Some of us, we think of it as a habit. It's 8 o'clock, it's 7 o'clock. I don't care if you're hungry or not, you're going to eat before going to school. There's something called lunch in between. They can, maybe if you want to give it to them, they can eat at that time too. No? If they don't want that much food at that time, maybe you shouldn't give them that much food at that time. We have it's 12 o'clock, it's lunchtime. Whether you're hungry or not, we're going to eat. We just have that mindset. It's just built in. We grew up, we have to have our 3 meals. We have to have breakfast. We have to have lunch. We have to have dinner. We have to have our snacks in between. We're not machines. We're not robots. You might be hungry today. You might not be hungry at lunchtime tomorrow. You might delay lunch a few hours. You might not eat dinner because you want to sleep properly at night. You might make your dinner a little bit earlier so you're not waking up in the middle of the night. You need to go to the restroom. It's common sense. I'm not saying anything, very great science or rocket science. Very common sense things. Once we start listening to our body, and we can only start listening to our bodies if our body starts giving us signals. But when we fill our foods with these processed junk, then that affects our signals. And then our body's not able to send us signals. We think we're hungry, well, we're not. We think that we have a lot of energy, but we're really tired. We have to pay attention to the signals that our body sends. So it doesn't make any sense, right? When we have, for example, you have that dashboard on your car, and the light pops up. Yeah, I'm going to take an electric tape and just put it on that. I can't see it anymore. It's good. Another one pops up, TPMC. Let me just put in some more tape on there. Yeah, another one pops up for the engine, change the oil. Hey, I'm going to put some more on there. I can't see it. That means it doesn't exist. Come on. Who are you joking? Yeah, who are you kidding with? No? So very, very important. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions something in the Quran, then that means we need to pay attention to it. If He told the prophets to do it, then they are the best of role models. They are our role models. Then obviously we need to pay attention to it. Even if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned it once, it was sufficient. He didn't mention it once. He mentioned it multiple times in the Quran about eating tayyib food, eating halal food, not eating with israf, not exaggerating it when you're eating. So this aspect of food, we think of it as an approach to life. We have to think of it as a means of nourishment that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created for us. And it's going to shift from being a diet to a lifestyle. People always ask me, hey man, can you give me a diet? I heard about your integrative Shifa, man. Can you give me a diet? Just tell me what foods I don't eat. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. If I just, you might stop eating sugar for 1 month or for 2 months or whatever, 1 week and 2 weeks. And you look at those individuals that do diets and mashallah, they lose weight, 20 pounds, 30 pounds, and they're looking good. And they think, okay, it's a 2-month thing. I'm only going to do it for 2 months. 3 months go by, you'll see that not only did they gain that weight back, they got even more obese. Why? Because it was a diet. It was something that I was going to do temporarily. It wasn't a lifestyle. Our Islam isn't something that we do when we come to the masjid. Our Islam is something that we do when we're at our workplace, when we're at the masjid, when we're at the grocery store. So same thing with our nutrition. Right? Same thing with our nutrition. How in the world can we do what we were created for? As you all know, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. We have not been created except that we worship Allah. How can we worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if we have no energy? If we have adrenal fatigue? If we have all of these illnesses? How can we worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? We're constantly tired. We're constantly sick. We can barely walk. You can't, right? You can't. There's only so much himma a person has. There's only so much determination a person has. And this concept of emotional nourishment versus biological intelligence. The food that we eat, it needs to be a means of biological intelligence, not just emotional nourishment. Now, sure, sometimes we get together as a family, we get together as a school, we get together as friends, and we're like, hey, let's go out and get some chai, let's go out and get some pizza or whatever. It's a bonding, fine, that's great, mashallah. But when we do that, we also want to make sure that this food that we eat is going to impact our biological intelligence as well. And if it means that we are always going to food when we have emotional issues, then that's usually a cause. That means that there's something wrong with our primary foods. That means that there is some issue with our primary foods. Yani, what do I mean by primary foods? I will talk about it later, but there's the four main ones. Your physical activity, you're probably not having any of that. Career, you probably, a job where you're just not making how much you think you should be making. You have relationships. You're either arguing with your spouse, you're arguing with your parents, you're arguing with siblings, you're arguing with friends. Any relationship. And you have number 4 is spirituality, the most important of all. If those things aren't in balance, then you could be eating the most healthiest of diets. You could be eating the most healthiest of foods. But how many times have we seen athletes? You tell me. We watch sports growing up. How many times have we seen athletes commit suicide? And they're the epitome of health, right? Or quote unquote they are. Why are they committing suicide then? Because there are other foods, primary foods. Like Marshawn Lynch said, he's mentals. He didn't take care of his mentals. Right? He's not taking care of his mentals. If you're not taking care of it, you're not taking care of your spirituality, you're not taking care of your physical activity, you're not taking care of your relationship, you're not taking care of your career. If they're not nourishing to you, then that's going to impact your health. That's going to impact your health. It shouldn't be like, I'm work, it's so stressful, and I come back home, I get to unwind. No, you shouldn't. That shouldn't be the case. That shouldn't be the case, where you're completely in stress the entire time at work. You're completely in stress when you're at home with your spouse, with your family. You're completely in stress because you have no physical activity, no aspect of spirituality. These also impact our health, and they're primary. These are what we call primary foods, the things that impact our health that are not on the plate. And we could go on and on and on, but since 1995, the number of Americans, I'm specifically talking about Americans, suffering with 3 chronic illnesses has doubled. And fewer than 1 out of 10 US adults and adolescents eat enough fruits and vegetables, eat enough whole foods, eat enough tayyib foods. 6 to 10 young individuals and 5 in 10 adults consume a sugary drug drink every day. 1 in 4 infants are exclusively breastfed for the first 6 months. Why am I talking about that? Why in the world are you talking about breastfeeding right now? What does that have to do? Have you ever looked at what do they call it, the formulas? Have you ever read the ingredients that they have in the formulas? How in the world does that formula last at your house for 3 years, 4 years? Think about that. What do they add in there? What preservatives do they keep in there? Think about these things. We need to be cognizant of we're always cognizant of our salah, we're cognizant of our zakah, we're cognizant of these things. Yes, these are the fara'id. Be cognizant of what you put into your body as well, because they're going to impact your fara'id. They're going to impact your sunnah, they're going to impact your wajibat, they're going to impact your sunnah and your nawafil. That's why you pay attention to it. Now, I'm not going to come here and say that it's fard for you to eat like 1 broccoli a day. It's wajib for you to eat, chicken soup every other day. No, I'm not. But we know it's fard for us to pray. We know it's fard for us to give zakat. We know it's fard for us to do, go on hajj if we have the ability to go to do so. No. 147 billion a year is spent on healthcare for obesity. 147 billion. And kids aren't getting skinnier and skinnier. Kids are getting more and more obese as the years come. You have screens, you have laptops, you have iPads, and they're not really helping much. Right? They're not helping the case for them not being obese. No. And you might think this is like one picture, you might be joking. That's common. That's That's so normal now. Right? And you're going to tell me it's a 7-year-old's fault? You're going to tell me it's a 5-year-old's fault? You're going to tell me it's a 9-year-old's fault for being like that? No, it's parents. You got to be a parent. Be the parent. You care about their education, also care about these things that impact their education. Our food has changed more in the last 50 years than in the last 10,000 years. And you notice this, I notice this. More and more diseases continue to grow in our society. Kids, bodies, they're becoming more sensitive to food allergies. Kids are being diagnosed with adult diabetes. There's a doctor by the name of Dr. Angela Lennon. She's a pediatric endocrinologist at the University of Kansas. She said that she sees obese children from 12 to 14 years old with kidney problems, with heart problems, with high blood pressure. Things that not even adults would have before, but adults have, and now kids are having it as well. Almost 20% of the kids that are obese have this type 2 diabetes. And some people, they always come to me, bichara, he's a kid, man, but let him eat, right? Let him eat, right? They say he's just a kid right now, he'll outgrow it. He's fat right now, but he'll outgrow his he'll lose that fat that he has. He'll lose that. Right? We actually, no, let me take it a step further. As adults, what do we do? He's like, mashallah, he's a very healthy person, right? Healthy bacha, na? Right? We always say that. And kids that are skinny, he got some issues, right? What's going on with you? You're not feeding him? Completely backwards. Completely backwards. No? If he's, fine, mashallah, he might be healthy. Not healthy, huh? He might be healthy for that time being. Maybe he's not walking that much. Maybe he's still crawling. Okay, he might, it's cute to, pull their cheeks fine when they're young. You're not going to be pulling your cheeks when you're 30. Right? Pulling your cheeks when you're 20. Nobody wants to do that. Right? That's not cute anymore. And whose fault is that? That's the parents' fault. I'm going to come at you. This is the parents' fault. That's our fault. That's our problem. That's our issue. Okay? Majority of the kids, they don't outgrow that baby fat. And a lot of the overweight teens, they end up as overweight adolescents. They end up as overweight adults. There's no magic time when you start just losing your fat. You're 15, you became baligh, you're just going to lose your fat. It doesn't happen like that. No. It's not just you're fat because you haven't had your growth spurt. You're obese because you haven't had a growth spurt. That's a misconception. It's a misconception, a complete misconception. And if we can give some general guidelines real quickly, inshallah, what are some pure ingredients that we need to keep in mind? Because remember, nutrition is something that's not one size fits all. Some individuals, react very negatively to dairy. Other individuals, it gives them nourishment. Some individuals react very positively to gluten products, while other individuals react very negatively. You have celiac disease, right? Stay away from gluten at all costs. Stay away from wheat. But other individuals, we grew up on it and we eat it, and alhamdulillah, we're able to process it and digest it nicely. So it's not a one size fits all. But there are certain things that you need to keep in mind, whatever lifestyle, diet you have. Okay? Number one is that you choose local, number one, local, and then number two, if possible, organic fruits. Local and organic fruits. There's nothing better than a fruit just traveling, 2 miles, 3 miles to your house, rather than coming from, Taiwan, rather than coming from Indonesia, rather coming from Chile, right? You see the bananas, right? Come on, how in the world are we having, fruits from across the globe when we can just grow those same fruits here? How long of a distance did it need to travel from there to here? things that we need to pay attention to. No? Packaged in USA, but it's from Mexico. Or packaged in USA, but it's from China. Packaged in USA. Things that we need to pay attention to. We support our local farmers. We support our local organic fruits. No? One way to figure that out is you see the logo there. No, it's not perfect. It's not wahi, right? Only wahi is perfect. These man-made things are never going to be perfect. Nutrition is never going to be perfect, but we try to strive for perfection. So when you see this logo of USDA organic, yes, it has some sort of standard. So this is something that you try to pay attention to, pay heed to. That you see this on the food, okay, it has some type of standard. The government is legislating that they can't put X amount of pesticide, they can't put X amount of herbicides, they can't put X amount of processed junk into that food because it has this logo. No? So yes, USD organic, that's great. That's great. But you want to take it to the next level, that local food. Now, shall we have farmers markets, around here? You support these local farms. If we don't support them, then they're just going to go out of business. No? And that they're really providing a khidmah for the entire ummah when they grow these crops, when they grow these fruits, when they grow these vegetables. Now, our goal here at Integrative Shifa is to strap you with as many healthy alternative food options. Because obviously the health, once you open yourself to the door of health, the opportunities are honestly, they're endless. They're endless, completely endless. So you have local organic fruits, local organic vegetables, grass-fed, free-range meats. Mashallah, it's part of our deen, right? Where we go and sacrifice the animal with our own hands on Eid. So it's nothing. We're a step ahead of the non-Muslims in this game. We feel and we get that connection with the animal. And if maybe not here as much so, in Pakistan and India and in other places, where they, for example, for Eid, they get the animal, months beforehand, sometimes a year beforehand, and they take care of it, and they look at it, and they feed it what they would feed themselves. They build that connection with it. So it's a connection that they have with the animal. So that obviously has a huge impact on our health, because we know every single thing that this animal ate. Whatever it ate, it's going to go into obviously its meat as well. If the animal ate, junk, GMO-fed crops, if the animal was sick because we had like 50 animals caged in one little area, and they all started getting sick because one started coughing, the other started coughing, and they just fed it with antibiotics. Guess what? Those antibiotics, who's going to go to? It's going to go to that meat that you're going to eat, that meat that you're getting at the store. And it's going to go to your body. You're going to get little doses of antibiotics. No? You're going to get those same doses that they gave to the animals. Why? Because you're eating that meat. They put it right into that meat. So very, very important having grass-fed, free-range meats. And I'll give an example of this, inshallah, on the next slide. Healthy fats, mashallah, as desis, right, tail is just part of our society. Huh? You got tail everywhere. Huh? You cannot go to a desi house that they don't have tail. Huh? You might find it on their hair too. Huh? But it's everywhere. Right? It's everywhere. And when it comes to fats, we want to make sure if we're using fats, then we use the best quality of fats. Not hydrogenated oils. If we think about fats for 1 second, people always ask me, okay, what about canola oil? What about vegetable oil? Vegetable oil has to be healthier. It's vegetable oil. Come on. Think about when vegetable oil came into existence. Read about its history. Then you'll see how vegetable it is for you. You see how healthy it is for you. Think about when these things came into existence. Your grandparents, your great-grandparents, they probably didn't see these things because they weren't food, they were never food, now they're classified as food. So oils, if I can talk about that for 1 second, because it would be incomplete, right? Can't have biryani, right? So we need to talk about oils for 1 second. Oils, a high smoke point oil would be a great alternative to things like canola and vegetable oil is organic avocado oil. Now, which its smoke point is close to 520 degrees, so it's pretty high, a pretty high smoke point. For lower smoke point, dishes that you want to make. Obviously, you have the gold standard is the extra virgin organic olive oil, right? EVOO. That smoke point is about 350. And obviously olive oil, mashallah, we know it's mentioned in Quran, it's mentioned in Hadith. Olives they are rich in vitamin E, they are rich in antioxidants. So they have their place for sure. But again, using these with moderation as well. Things that we want to stay away from, artificial ingredients. Okay? Things that you can't read. If you can't read it, if they're like a number, I'm pretty sure it's not a food. If it says like red 45 or blue 20, it sounds like more like Madden. You're playing Madden, eh? Like, hey, hut, right? 40. It doesn't sound like food, right? It sounds more like getting ready for football tomorrow, right? That's not what our food needs to be. So you have all these artificial ingredients that we want to be very, very careful for. GMOs, genetically modified organisms, where they take one organism, they take another organism, and they just forcefully merge them. Like about 80% of the corn is GMO'd, right? It's genetically modified. Preservatives, they have their time, they have their place, But again, you have healthy alternatives to preservatives. Alhamdulillah, we have a freezer now. Right? We have freezers that exist. So we don't need to have things out in the open for that need to. We're not living in Antarctica. We're not living in places where you're going to be inside the home and you can't go out for months on end. You're not going to space. You're not going to the moon. You're going to the moon. Let me know. We'll try figuring out some food for you. But right now you're going to the masjid and you go to the store. You can go to the store. You have access to the store every single day. Why do we need to get these foods that stay on the shelf for weeks on end, for months on end? Why do we need that? They want to preserve the shelf life, but they want to preserve your life. These companies, they want to improve their shelf life for the foods, not your life. Your life is secondary. Their life with their money is primary. No? So preservatives, something to be very careful for as well. Hydrogenated oils. Hydrogenated oils, you want to look for brands that are cold pressed, unrefined. They're not trying to just improve shelf life. They're not just trying to improve the cost. This is what we call usually trans fats. Trans fats, if you look at any doctor will tell you that they have a very high association with heart disease and hardening of the arteries. So you look out for labels or oils that say partially hydrogenated or fully hydrogenated. That's usually telling you that this oil is filled with trans fats. No. So this is a type of fat which is only going to increase our inflammation and increase our obesity. A common ingredient that you'll see in ketchup, right? Ketchup. Now you see, people think I'm really weird now, right? If we go to a restaurant, I usually don't go to restaurants anymore anyways, but if we go to a restaurant, I'll bring my own ketchup with me. I'll bring, the little packets. Like, what the heck is this person doing? I'm not taking your condiments, man. You look at the condiments. Okay? Look how it's filled with this high fructose corn syrup. It's artificial sugar. There's so many names for sugars, guys. We always think, oh man, I stay away from sugar. What about high fructose corn syrup? Huh? What about fructose? What about sucrose? What about all these other, these artificial sweeteners? A lot of people tell me, hey, there's this awesome Gatorade. It's no sugar. Like, me and my brother, we were talking about this earlier. Oh, this has no sugar. It's probably good for you. Huh? But look at the other sweeteners that they added. Look at the artificial sweeteners that they added for that. That's probably worse. These artificial sweeteners are probably worse than the regular sugar. And that's how they get you. It just says no sugar in the front. Nobody reads the back. As Muslims, we're supposed to be used to reading the back, right? We're supposed to used to reading the labels. That's our job, right? We check if it's halal. Now take it a step further. Check if it's tayyib. Now, I talk too much. Here, let me ask you this question. Can you guess what product this is? MashaAllah, look at the first ingredient. What do you think? If you get it right, Imam Masroor will take you out for dinner, inshallah. One answer, gulab jamun. Given wise, going once. He's right, mashallah. It's carrot cake, huh? Okay. Carrot cake, mashallah. Let's see if we can find any carrots in there. Oh yeah, carrots, mashallah. They got carrots in there. And check out all those other ingredients in there. You got enriched bleached, come on, does that even sound good? Enriched bleached wheat flour, soybean oil, vegetable shortening, artificial flavors, mono and diglycerides, natural and artificial. There's nothing natural about natural flavors. Let me just tell you about that, right? There's nothing natural about natural flavors. Yes, natural flavors sometimes get a bad rep. Sometimes they are they're made from good ingredients. We're almost done. Oh, almost done. I'm getting the time out, huh? So we're almost in here. I'm going to wrap up. So natural flavors, artificial flavors, high fructose corn syrup, soyless. Oh, we got to the bottom. Yellow 6, yellow 5, yellow blue 1. MashaAllah. All right, look at those ingredients. Okay. So I'm shaking my head ingredients. Huh? Look at how. Take a look. America versus Canada. Same product, but like 3 lines of less ingredients, and the ingredients are a little bit better. That doesn't mean go order Fruit Loops from Canada. That doesn't mean that. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying it's worse here. It's worse. Okay. McDonald's fries versus in the U.S. versus in the U.K. Again, last time I checked it was haram anyways, but it's look at that. A whole 2.5 lines of less ingredients that you can actually read. No. Cheetos, again, look at that list. Ours has artificial color, red 40, lake, I don't even know what that means. Yellow 6, lake, yellow 5, yellow 6. This is what we give to our kids, huh? Is what we give to our kids? No, we're not going to give to our kids anymore, right? Inshallah. We're not going to give this. So this, until we say something, they're not going to do anything. Until we speak out, we bring awareness to the Muslim community, they're not going to do anything. They're going to take advantage of our kids. They're going to take advantage of our money. They're going to take advantage of everybody here. No? So some real quick healthy swaps. Okay, we are used to, I don't want, you can probably hate me after this. You're never going to invite me ever to your house or ever, But white chawal, huh? White chawal, if I can talk about white chawal real quick. Okay, fine. It has its carbs, yes. But, I thought the easiest way to make healthy, make eating healthier for us here was giving them healthy alternatives to the foods that they already eat. I'm not going to tell you don't eat chawal. Okay, I'm going to tell you to eat brown rice. I'm going to tell you to eat some quinoa. Or I'm going to tell you to eat something that's a little bit more healthy because you want to get the most bang for your buck. What is white rice? White rice, they remove one of the two elements from the actual rice when it's taken. They remove the bran and the germ, okay? And these are the most nutritional portions of the rice. And now it's just rice. Now it's just carbs. Dead carbs, just energy, just sugar, nothing. No nutritional value whatsoever. It has some, obviously, it has a little bit, but you compare that to brown rice, everything is kept in its actual form, much more nutritional, and it tastes better. Right? Once you get used to it, right? Get used to it, it'll taste better. Huh? You'll like it. Quinoa, okay. rich in fiber, rich in antioxidants, has all 9 essential amino acids. It's one of the healthiest and most nutritional foods on the planet. Okay, sugars, oh man, look at all that, huh? Let's swap that with this. It's just a simple swap, right? You can read all the ingredients on the right-hand side. You know it's a watermelon, it's a pineapple, it's an orange. We have mashallah, we got samples out there, right? We got samples out there for you. And inshallah, our next khidmah is we're going to start putting those in the vending machine, right? Yeah. We're going to put the orange in there. We're going to put the apple in there, inshallah. Now, bread swaps. Right? Look at the breads, for example, that you might be eating. Take a look at them. Take a look at how many artificial flavors they might have, how many ingredients that you can't read. Swap them with some of these ingredients. Like this one, Dave's Killer Power Seed. I wouldn't ignore the name, but the product is good, mashallah. Ezekiel, again, this has no sugar whatsoever. No sugar. That's why you see it in the freezer section. It's in the freezer, right? You go home, mashallah, you all have freezers at home. Okay, you can eat that. Some other healthy swaps. So that's your antibiotic meat, huh? It's filled with antibiotics. If it's not free range, if it's not grass fed, then that meat is most likely going to be fed antibiotics. Okay. Just because it's halal doesn't mean it's going to be tayyib for you. Just because it's halal doesn't mean it doesn't have any antibiotics. Okay. So, mashallah, one company that I know for certain that they publicize it on their website as well, that they don't feed their meats antibiotics, right? They don't feed it any hormones. Crescent chicken, they even sell that. I saw it at Valley, they sell it there. I think they sell it at Walmart, right? Last time I was checking. They sell it, they have it online. But we have the means to do it. We have the means to do it, yep. So whether it's packaged, obviously those come from the freezer, the crescent chicken as well. But if we can go to the farm and go to a local grass-fed, free-range farm that gives their animals free range to eat the grass and whatever food they want to eat, we can go there and slaughter ourselves. That's even better, right, than crescent, because we're getting it even more fresh. But if we can't, mashallah, it's there. Oh, mashallah, now you guys are going to like me, huh? The deep roti, huh? Mashallah, the deep naan, huh? Deep. Yeah. What deep, yeah? Just, what is up with the deep roti, huh? Let's swap that, huh? Let's swap that for some, mashallah, some homemade circle rotis, huh? Some nice chapatis at home, right? So we have some students of knowledge, mashallah, they're probably cooking some nice chapatis at home. Sometimes we'll probably go to their house. Huh? We'll get their number, huh?
That is the thing, who is going to cook it?
Aye, yeah. Huh? Yeah, mashallah, yes. Cooking this, mashallah, this is not that hard, right? Not that hard, right? You have your kitchen made, you do it, mix it takes maybe like 5-10 minutes, right? Nice fresh roti that doesn't have preservatives in it. And every single, if people tell me, okay, it's the same thing as the frozen ones that I buy here. No, it's not, because you don't know what type of salt they put, you don't know what type of flour they're using. They're obviously not going to use organic wheat flour, they're obviously not going to use the best form of salt. Okay, so these things we want to pay attention to. So a quick summary, inshallah, is we want to read the labels that you eat, so making sure the food is tayyib, whole foods. Don't waste the food by overeating, because it's not doing any type of benefit to you and your body. Number 3, following the sunnahs of eating by being grateful. So as Muslims, we need to step up to the plate. Pun intended, right? We need to step up to the plate. And honestly, we need to take charge of our body, or else we're going to lose it, and it's going to be too late by the end. So that's kind of where I thought of, to make this endeavor in this initiative called Integrative Shifa. Integrative Shifa is the mission for us is to inspire Muslims globally to develop systemic healthy habits by integrating not just nutrition along with your Islamic lifestyle, because we know primary foods and secondary foods go hand in hand. We can't be eating nice organic foods and having the worst of relationships with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with our spouses, with our bosses, with in our career. So primary food is where it's at first. We fix that first. Primary food is the nourishment that our body receives off the plate. And these are the 12 primary foods. 4 main ones is the red, spirituality, the light orange career, green physical activity, and the purple in relationships. These are the 4 main ones. But obviously if we want to have our entire body in balance, then we want to look at all 12 of these primary foods. And when these 12 primary foods are in balance, what you eat becomes secondary. That's what we're talking about today. That's the nourishment that our body receives on the plate. So at Integrative Shifa, we always want to emphasize the importance of eating local, organic produce, wholesome foods, high quality proteins, healthy fats, and obviously not forgetting our nice intake of rosa. No, I'm just kidding, not rosa, water. Water, not rosa, not that color. So people always ask, okay, what is health coaching? Oh, well, health coaching, we connect the dots between who you are and who you want to be. We create that personal blueprint for you, and we decipher your body's unique needs, because everybody has personal unique needs. What do you get? You have a 45-minute session. You have email support in between, personalized recipes, and inshallah handouts. Alhamdulillah, in Chicago we're able to meet in person. We also have virtual sessions, inshallah. So if you want to take a look at it, if you're interested, go ahead and sign up for a free 30-minute session, inshallah. And we'll open up inshallah, the floor for questions.